I decided to make this video just to talk about SnapMap's launch day situation and how I believe it should have been. Mainly because I really think the fact that SnapMap was underbaked on launch day definitely affected the popularity of it, or people wanting to use or play it over camping or multiplayer. SnapMap on launch day, from what I remembered, it did seem to be favorable from reviewers because, let's be honest, multiplayer was generally the thing that got the most criticism out of the three game modes from Doom. However, it still had its criticism too. Like, Kotaku released an article about it, and I just remember people were complaining on the forums, like 2 weapons only, limited options, limited themes from the modules, no custom geometry, and so on. Reviewers would compare it to mod tools but mention its lack of power, and I don't think it's right to compare an in-game editor to a SDK, but I get where they're going. So yeah, SnapMap did have some tough criticism on launch day. It was mostly the campaign that everyone was just glorifying it without mentioning much of its problems. If you guys weren't subscribers of mine before Doom was released, I thought SnapMap was the weakest portion of Doom. I was pretty shocked by how limited it was when I first used it. I tried to make a survival map similar to City Survival, but it was so limiting with the lack of options you had at that time with the items, so I couldn't do it. But I'm going to stop right here and actually get into the things that SnapMap should have done to actually maintain its strength or popularity when it was first released. The first thing is it should have had better maps made by the developers themselves. A lot of these maps were showing off the things you can do in SnapMap, but they weren't really good maps. Like, the survival map is kind of fun, but it's actually stupidly easy once you know what you're doing, and then it loses its charm. That's the kind of thing with a lot of these maps that the developers made on launch day. Very few of them stood out, and they basically relied on the players to make the good maps for people to play. I personally think the featured campaigns or maps have been pretty good to solid so far, so that's nice, but I feel like they should have delivered more of these kinds of maps on launch day instead of its updates. People would have stuck around and played SnapMap while people can take the time and work on them. Just like any map you make in any game, making good maps takes a lot of time and dedication, so it would have been nice if there was a handful of maps that had longevity while players can create quality maps for players. I love how the new SnapMap hub gives you categories, and I think SnapMap should have had that at the start. It shows off the strength of SnapMap, and not only that, it acts almost like a playlist. Like, do you want to play horde mode or campaign maps? You know, this would have made SnapMap a better first impression than what we had at that time, where the hub was very basic. The matchmaking was so bad on launch. I remember there was no game browser. You had to just search games from the maps, and that was a problem in so many ways. Basically, you could make a map but struggle to play with randoms, and not only that, it led to people hosting popular maps, and they would bait the players by switching to another map. That was annoying, and I still couldn't believe why they didn't give us a game browser at that point, because people already found exploits to the system already, and that was just annoying. Not only that, I still can't believe they haven't fixed that glitch where you can see the demons if you're playing off host. That was another thing I want to mention, because if people don't know about it, it just gives SnapMap a bad impression, or even the mapper. I thought the matchmaking would be better with future updates, but it's still not. Now there's the problem where sometimes you see a game, but sometimes it won't let you in, or that weird moment where the host doesn't start. This one is something I believe most people should agree. We should have had free update 2 on launch. We should have had all of the hell modules and everything that free update 2 included. I always thought SnapMap campaigns felt kind of watered down compared to the main campaign because of the lack of specific ammo types, and only having 2 weapons was lame too, and it didn't feel like Doom at all. I really think with free update 2 we were able to replicate the campaign's experience much more effectively. Obviously there are some stuff that makes SnapMap, but I don't mind the weapons behaving differently in a way, or the enemies too. I also want to say this because I thought this update vastly improved SnapMap for me. The hell modules were awesome, and the props were great and versatile for mapping or decoration purposes, and it's where custom geometry was starting to shine with stuff like the grid modules and hell props and Speaking of custom geometry, I feel like SnapMap should have included custom geometry at the very beginning of the development. From what I remember hearing about SnapMap or watching it, it was supposed to be all about snapping pre-made set pieces to make a map, and that's also a nice feature to have, but I think having that and being able to create your own unique areas would have been great too. I think people would have gotten more excited when Doom was still in development, knowing you do have um the best of both worlds if you want to use areas made by the developers or make up your own. Those are the things I wished SnapMap would have done on launch day, but then again, I don't know how big Escalation Studio is, and I don't know how many people were working on SnapMap, so that's probably the main reason why it had a pretty rough start. With that said, I did feel like the tutorial and references were definitely nice to be included for new players. In the future, I do hope to see good updates for SnapMap, but at the same time, I know there's going to be more technical issues, because every SnapMap update happens, it just ends up having more technical problems. I really don't know how to feel. I don't want to have broken maps because I hate going back to my old maps just to make sure everything is fine, but I do want more content, of course. SnapMap is definitely better than it was on launch, and I know there are people that are still going to complain about the lack of mod tools, and I know SnapMap will never come close to that, but I'm glad Doom does got 3 enjoyable game modes. Campaign is the best, multiplayer is decent, and SnapMap is solid enough to really play around with it, whether you build maps or play them. I'm sure if Doom did have mod tools, SnapMap wouldn't exist, and I guess the third mode would probably be a horde mode or something, but I find SnapMap to be fun, and there's definitely a lot of replay value from it, especially if you build maps, and isn't like that's the whole purpose of why people want mod tools? SnapMap still does a good job at doing that. I know people complain about bad maps in SnapMap, but to be honest, that's just how it is when it comes to user-generated content in general. I remember in Warcraft 3, I played a decent amount of crappy maps, but also some of them were good too. It's the same in the classic Doom days. There were a lot of people making crappy maps too. Anyone remember D-Zone? I can't believe they sold them for retail. And that's all I gotta say for this video. Stay tuned for more, everyone, and thank you for watching.